Honestly, where to begin? Norman, it was something that turned out to be something so different than what I initially thought it was going to be. This idea was originally going to be just a short film, and it's been such a long production that I honestly don't really remember like what it initially was.
Well, it was through a friend at work that I found out about the project. Hey, my buddy Joel's making this film, you want to be a part of it. And at the time I was acting in like plays and stuff at school, and so I was like, yeah, that'd be fun. And Joel came down and we talked about a time suit, and it'll be a nice, fun little project. Should be done this summer. And it unfolded from there.
Okay, ready? Action.
I got involved when Joel Gelzer and his wife came over to my house one evening for dinner. And Joel wandered off, and he was gone for probably 20 minutes before we realized this. And then we see him wandering around the house. And then he comes back into the living room and says, "This would be a perfect house for a set for the movie I've been thinking about." So then I became involved in Norman for the next 7 years. Scene 6C, take 1. In total, I've only known Joel without Norman for about 4 weeks.
Oh yeah. Just make sure he doesn't like speak over.
Yeah.
Even when I'm supposed to.
You don't even have to say. You don't worry about saying anything. You don't have to say
I got involved with Norman essentially by birth. So Joel and I are brothers. We grew up doing all sorts of piddly little short films, just fun projects. So it kind of was kind of a natural thing to have happen. One that I probably couldn't even choose if I wanted to. Norman was a very difficult, slow burn of a project. It was always something that I knew was going to be good, but at the same time, just with life and having to do other projects to make money, it was always this kind of heavy weight in the back of your mind, just knowing like pretty much any time that there's an opening in my schedule or I have some plausibility to devote a series of weeks or a month or a couple days each week on it, I just knew that, well, I'm not gonna ever have free time, because when I have free time, normally that would be devoted to Norman.
Recording. Action.
I think the first day we showed up, got scripts, and started doing scenes at the house and driving a car. It was just jumping straight into normal filming, and then it started morphing over time. It morphed from, hey, we have this idea of you playing this girl, but also, what if your voice was a different character?
Annie, what just happened?
The design of the Annie character, Joel had a very particular design in mind.
I think he did it.
But then we had to kind of bring it back to reality with the limitations of 3D printing and the fact that I don't do 3D printing. I do architectural visualization, video game artwork. I work with polygons. And the weird thing about 3D printing is artwork you see in video games is made up of triangles, polygons, and it's hollow. If you take a camera in a video game and you clip it through a wall, the wall is hollow and empty inside. But when you're printing an actual object, it has to have physical form to it. So our design for Annie had to be physically perfect. So we couldn't have any kind of weird clipping or issues where things would not print well. And then we still had to leave enough room to add the lighting effects, the battery, the glass shape, all these parts being printed and designed from different places online, all having to come together, again, with me designing it, not knowing anything about 3D printing before this. It was just a completely new experience.
The story that I initially wrote, like the film retained a lot of what that initial story was, but through the years, through additional scenes, through rewrites, through changes, and because we had a secondary character in the film, Annie, that isn't an actual human person, we were able to adapt that. And so the story changed quite drastically in different areas.
Lean over. I want to see how you're in position where you can see. Yeah.
You know, when Joel was working on the film pretty early, he had shot maybe 20 days or so. There's some stuff with Norman in the house, and he was sharing with me some of the scenes and sharing with me the script. And we started having conversations about where the story was going to go, some of the dialogue things, and it turned into a discussion of, what if you did this? What if your character were to make this decision? And it kind of evolved into actually sitting down and helping him work on the script and come up with new ideas, and eventually getting fully involved and working on lines for Annie, which is the robot character, and also, you know, some other stuff like the journal.
It was nowhere near the project it is now than it was at the beginning. So it was a shorter script by far, and that unfolded into a much larger script. The story, the plot expanded, which was fun to be a part of, but I had no idea what I was getting into. It just sounded fun, honestly, and I was looking for practice. You know, as an actor, I just want to keep acting and getting better, and it seemed like a good way to do that. So I said, yeah, let's do it.
Being here, I can't just keep going back out there. I'm too exposed, it's too vulnerable.
Got the whole lighting?
That just,
I can't keep doing this.
Okay. I can't keep doing this. It's just... I can't keep doing this. I can't just keep going back out there.
As it started growing, it both made me a little nervous to see where it was going to end up, because I'm trying to understand this character and portray this person who is kind of evolving. And so it's really hard to wrap your mind around who this person is as they're growing as a character. And so there was some nervousness in that, but it was also exciting to see and be a part of that evolution of, you know, the plot thickening and adding different aspects to make the story more appealing to a broad, you know, range of people who would be interested. But I can't say I knew where it was going, and that was the challenge. You know, trying to see who I'm going to portray this character as the character is growing itself.
I think I'm going to attach to this place. I want you to play that.
Yeah, just like that. And so what happens after that line, Joy?
Of course, I can't say I'm sure what exactly you were trying to accomplish.
Okay.
I need some place I can go under
Okay.
this.
So literally all the way until I don't need much. Just find me some place, you know, like all the way to.
Name.
Oh yeah, honestly, until name. I'm trying to think of the next until I actually want you to turn back to Annie. No.
You guys gonna
Oh really? You're only gonna turn when you come back to Norman Brandt. So literally do the entire thing looking this way, okay?
This film was a project that I thought was very doable throughout the whole time. I thought it was going to be something we could easily do, and it was not any of that. The only way this film kind of happened was because it always felt like it was like just months away from being done. Just literally months. I always felt like it was within grasp. Like, okay, just a little bit more and then it'll be done. But as we started, you know, Norman's house was the central figure of the movie, and that only came down to this guy I met where I started working, Jason Pecor. His house was such a delight. It had that knick-knacky feel. It had some like boats and ships and stuff all over. It had old clocks and things. And I was just like, this is such a wild, cool looking house. I just thought, I wonder if I could do this idea I had, which at the time was actually about this character who just had this alternate version of himself that he could see through this mirror. It was just a weird little idea I had written down in a notebook for years, and that's how it all started.
I've done everything I could do. I don't know what else I could do. I tried. Oh, God, crap. I realized my stupid freaking lights in the background. Not that it even looks like that much, but...
So besides trying to understand the character and really bring him to life, my job was also my own wardrobe manager.
The dress shirt?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe like just rolled up sleeves?
Mm-hmm. Cardigan.
Vest. Brought this sweater.
I was tasked with finding different props at different points in the process, and whether that be, you know, asking around or going to thrift stores to buy, you know, the most random things, like we need a exercise bike. Try to go find one. Okay, and so I'm like running around trying to find an exercise bike that, you know, will work at least for filming, and keeping track of all the costumes. Okay, what did I wear for this scene? It can't be the same for this scene. Wait, is it the same? It's weird because time's involved. Like, what's happening? So it involved more than just acting. Like, I had to do several different things. Maintaining my facial hair was kind of a challenge, because it wasn't all filmed like in one day, and one scene could have been filmed on 2 separate days. And so going back and looking at, you know, okay, how did I shave? And having to plan ahead for that. Okay, I shaved, but there was some stubble, so maybe shave 2 days before or 3 days before. I don't know. I'll just shave. And so it probably changed a little bit. Hopefully no one notices any of those subtle differences in my facial hair, but stuff like that was stuff I did.
Yeah, ready? Go back there and just go as fast as you can to go start shaking it, okay? So you can start shaking the table, Decor. Okay, and action. Wait, walk in.
Unlike a typical film that has a substantial budget or decent budget to a degree, those people are getting paid to work on the film during their work hours. They have a very good excuse for why they're not at home to deal with home life or with kids or whatever the case is, because they're getting that check every couple weeks. But for the core team around Norman, I mean, it really was a sacrifice that we all had to make. We had to give up our free time, our time to hang out with our wives, with our kids, a lot of times doing things that, you know, we all would love to do, but those little moments of available time had to be devoted on Norman. Otherwise, it would take substantially even more time.
Ready to go?
Most of the filming took place in my own house, so I never really went to set. The whole crew sort of came to me where I lived, which was on set. So day-to-day life, whether we were filming or not, was on a movie set where I was finding myself walking around reflectors and camera equipment and sound equipment on a regular basis. So.
Yeah, it won't work. Solid, man. Yeah. They did a good job. What if I went?
His finger. Totally believable.
Action.
Are you okay?
I told you I'm fine. Just go. I'll be fine.
Nice. That was really good. One more time. You got it. That was really good, dude.
She's like a super, I would say your average, it was a normal person that you could put a lot of yourself into. She wasn't an out there character. She's like kind of the typical, from the script anyway, you could say like, oh, it's like the girl next door type character. So you have a lot of space to put your own self into it and your own perspective and how would I react in like this normal everyday situation when someone's like bleeding from their head.
Ow.
You fainted and you fell pretty hard.
Look, why are you still here? I appreciate the help, but you need to just go.
Fine. I mean, I'm just trying to help you, but fine. If you want to be left alone, I'll go.
Yeah, just go. Thank you, just go.
The first prop that we started to build was the backpack for Norman's suit. All of the parts for that were built from plumbing and electrical at a local hardware store. We began it shortly after we decided to film Norman, but we didn't finish the prop until over a year later when we actually needed to use it for those scenes. It wasn't until later we realized that the helmet that we had chosen for the backpack tended to fog up.
You can like suck the fog out, but then it's like you can't breathe again.
It included a hose, so we decided to build a ventilation system into the backpack itself and a small computer fan and a battery pack, which also powered the lighting for both the backpack and the helmet, blew air up the tube into the helmet to keep it from fogging up, which worked marginally well.
There's a guy sitting out there. Is he? Where? In the car right in the middle of the road. He's backing up.
I have known Joel for 13, 14 years now, over a decade, and so we have a long video relationship. I mean, that was kind of the binding agent that we connected with over initially, and so as he grew more into the story side of video production, I kind of took more of an interest in the magical side with visual effects and motion graphics, and it played out beautifully because this was a chance that he gave me a call and said, "Hey, I got another project coming up and it's gonna have a lot of visual effects work. Are you interested in doing this?" And obviously the answer was yes. I think I was first promised, I was given a $300 piece of equipment, and that was my payment. And so I got this project. I'll give you a slider if you come help me. Okay, sure. I thought it was a weekend project, like a 24-hour film festival. Little did we know.
I'm recording now.
You recording?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I turned it on. So it's crazy we're actually filming this thing and this thing hasn't fallen apart yet.
Hey, Andy.
That's the biggest dream come true, really.
Good. Great.
And that's Ben. Hello. Science assistant.
How's the science, Ben?
The science
is
scientific.
The central theme of the film that I just have been stuck with from the beginning was I wanted to make a time travel film where the guy who uses this time machine does not use it to go save the world. He doesn't use it to go back and like do some grandiose thing. The idea was, what if you had a guy who figured out and created a time machine simply because he wanted to escape his responsibilities. He wanted to escape his own problems, and he just thinks somehow life will be better here, away from his family, away from his troubles. But they always catch up, and he never gets rid of them. They're always still there, and they actually get worse because of his time travel. So time travel was never really a huge theme in the sense that I needed him to go back in time, and it's all about this science fiction-y type thing. The story was just, I wanted to use time travel as a way to show that like this amazing adventure he has still does not allow him to escape his troubles and problems. He still has to face with them. So essentially, Norman has to learn to literally live in the present. And one of those things that made that happen was the secondary character, Annie, which was voiced by Melissa.
I was trying to say, do not ruin this opportunity to leave. If you want to go to her, then do it, but commit to your choice. You can't have both, Norman.
Anytime you're working with somebody on a script, collaboration is fun, but there's always the negotiation that goes back and forth. You know, Joel being the director, really the author of the story, it's very important to him to get it right. Everybody else that's working on the film also wants to get it right, and so you have to negotiate, you have to collaborate to come up with the best ideas. And we would put something down in the script and move on, and something just didn't feel right about it. Going back through the script, said, you know, Annie says it this way this way another time. Let's go back and make sure she's consistently saying the adjective this way.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty long section for you.
Okay.
So we might have to split it up a couple times.
And it felt like nitpicky at the time, but when you're thinking about your characters, when you're being empathetic, you have to see, you have to put yourself in their shoes. If you were that device, or you were Norman writing in this journal, what would you be saying? How would you be saying? You can't make it sound like, it can't sound like James. It can't sound like Joel. It has to sound like that character. And so we would nitpick some of these lines to further enrich that character, to be consistent.
I'd recommend shutting off the faucet before your house shakes apart. Sorry.
Draw that out a little bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah. That second line, do you want me to finish before he says anything?
Trying to place where we were in the story throughout the process of recording was something I was trying to constantly be going over, like what just happened before this point, so that it doesn't sound totally out of place, and how can I keep like the streamline of the character in the right context so that it was relatable and so that we could get a more effective relationship, I guess, between the lines, because nothing was live. Just nothing was live.
You've not once mentioned the injuries you've sustained to your head. I also analyzed the basement and detected a small explosive device. It appears to have been forcibly opened. What happened while I was gone?
In the beginning, when it was like less, wow, this is going to take forever, me and Adam kind of worked together on it. And during the times where we didn't have other active projects, we would kind of tag team and do different scenes. And it eventually got to the place where I kind of took the reins and did quite a bit of it, especially with like all the Annie tracking and stuff along that line, which helped because there was like consistency throughout. It was never, oh, copy Annie's screen from this to the other one and it looks perfect, but it was like I was able to go from Annie shot 1 to Andy shot 147 and like kind of know in and out what all those are looking like and what they're all doing. So making the Annie face, we used the dialogue clips from each shot in the movie. So you had the dialogue for the shot in Premiere, then rendered out into waves. And Picor made this interface, which is like just a website on, or just a web page on his website. And you just take and you drag audio clip.
Loading audio file. Audio file is 200% ready.
And then once it's 200%, once it's 200% ready, we're able to then start a screen capture, get a little new screen recording going. And I use QuickTime for this because it's easy. And you just do that, start the recording, and then I'll just play it. And depending on what shot it is. Sometimes it's just as small as that, and like it gets cut halfway, and then stop the recording, and then save it. And I did everything like to try and be as organized as possible because I knew I was going to have to change it so much. But then just save it, and then once I actually bring it into After Effects, I have like just the face, and then I take where the audio actually starts and line that up with the waveforms to try and make it so that she's actually talking. It isn't actually the case, but I felt like I was Annie, like I was making her talk.
Probably get lower on this. In the way. Look, just trust me, okay? What I need you to do is get the machine running, but remember this time to keep the power level as low as possible until I tell you to punch it.
With props, Joel's philosophy seemed to be it only needed to last maybe 10 minutes. But I always took the approach of overbuilding and over-designing everything just in case something went wrong. So with the mini time machine, I knew the scene would involve Steven throwing an apple at the prop. So with the lighted tubes horizontally, I figured they may get struck and any kind of delicate electrical connection would be broken during that scene very easily. So I ended up making the tubes magnetic so that the connectors themselves could be struck over and over again and simply be reconnected magnetically without destroying the prop.
We've had not one successful. One another time. Quick, before they get here. Let's go.
It's a little nervous on this side.
$5 is the table. On the top, the portal beam.
Same one?
Yep.
Cool. The funny moments for me was when we were working on the smaller time machine, and it was completely ridiculous how we were shooting it. Someone laying under the table, hitting a light switch, and moving papers around and stuff when the portal starts working. But there's the moment where we have the apple that flies through the portal, and Norman throws it one way, and you don't see it go from that angle into the portal. We had it from the opposite angle, and so I took the apple and I was going to throw it through the portal, and my first shot hit the portal and it took out all the lights. I was like, oh my God, I broke the portal in the first shot. Luckily it was able to be fixed, but the next one went through and that was the one that made it into the movie.
Please don't walk. Recording.
Joel.
Pop it. There you go. Keep it rolling.
So once we had this house and I had this actor, Steve, we started shooting and we decided we're going to shoot the easiest things first. And that was just physical movement, him walking over here, him drawing over here, him journaling in a notebook, things that didn't really involve a lot of acting, honestly, to just kind of get to know each other, to get used to each other, how we work. Because Steve had done a lot of theater acting, but he hadn't really done a lot of film acting. And for me, there is a big difference. You can have really good actors both ways, but if you don't understand the difference, there is a different language. Sometimes you got to be more subtle than theater acting. And so we started with easy shots, and we worked our way up to more and more complicated shots.
The next day, I got a phone call telling me that both of my parents had died in a car accident. And the worst part is I can't even remember what we were arguing about. And Mom, I didn't even say goodbye.
Okay. That one take you took your glasses off?
Yeah.
Do you remember what part you did?
Yeah, I do. Because I remember,
okay,
crap, I didn't do it.
No, that's
This was really my introduction to working in front of a camera. Everything prior to this was on stage, or something to that extent. So being in front of the camera was different, but I think I adapted okay. I don't know, we'll see.
Action.
Working with mostly Joel and Picor was good because it was an intimate setting in that there was only, most of the time there was just the three of us filming different scenes, working it all out. Sometimes there would be sound on set, sometimes they weren't able to be there. So most often it was a very intimate setting, and some of the scenes required, that for more emotionally driven parts of the plot. But it was fun at the same time because, Joel would give great direction. Oftentimes we would sit down and he would explain the motivations behind, what's going on in the scene, because it took me some time to figure all that out.
Like, what I want is, you come up here, once you say your line of, you just say, all right, let's start it up. Ding. Like, you have this little bit of like, wait, but you don't say, and then like, just be looking up, and then, wait, don't do anything. But don't turn your head, keep still looking up there, okay? Just be like, wait. And you're still thinking. I want to see in your eyes, you're kind of thinking, you know, like, wait, should I do this? You know, I'm going to do this. I should do this, okay? And that's when Annie's like, Norman, like, she knows what you're going to do. She knows what's going on, okay? And then what was the other line?
And as time went on, I got more and more comfortable, not only in front of the camera, but with Joel as a director and with Jason, you know, helping with either lighting or reading some of Annie's lines, whatever it was. I became more and more accustomed to that over time, which was very helpful.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
A personal question.
One of my good friends, James, came in, and he had known about me working on the film for a while, and we would chat all the time. But it right around Kickstarter time, he had really started to help me with a lot of the script. We had really started working on Annie's lines. We had changed every single piece of line that Annie says from what I wrote into something really usable. I had something there that would just get us close to what I wanted, but James and I, we worked together on the new scenes at the Kickstarter, the battle scene, the more shots talking about Norman's parents, and then every little line of narration that Norman says throughout the movie, I wanted it to just be beautiful.
After that, everything changed. I became consumed with my work, consumed with an idea. I no longer felt like I belonged. I shut out the rest of the world. I wanted to escape. Annie, I won't let my actions hurt these people like they did my parents.
I knew the film had to rely on narration, and I know some films can be really bad if you just rely on like flashbacks and stuff, but since this movie was a time travel film and Norman's character literally was a hermit inside of a house, he would never be talking a lot. If you're by yourself, you just don't talk out loud, and I didn't want random scenes of him just talking about ideas out loud to no one. So we had an outlet with Annie, but the Norman narration had to be phenomenal. It had to feel like this is not just a cop-out of the story, it legitimately is used in a great way.
Visions, memories, I don't know what they are. I wish I could understand. All I can think about is her.
I think my favorite aspect of being able to work on the movie was working on the journal scenes with Joel. When you think of a journal, you think of the most personal thoughts of a character, and that's sometimes something you don't always get from a character in a movie. In The Pendulum Swinging, you can also get too many thoughts and you don't really see any character development. So we wanted to use this not as a crutch, but as a way to show his deteriorating condition and to really show that like little piece of glimmer of hope that he started to have, and at the end just being able to give closure to the sacrifice that Annie made, the decisions he made, to show that character arc really coming from start to finish. And it meant a lot to me because everybody that worked on the film put a little piece of themselves into the film. You know, Joel is Norman, the character. And when you look at the different people that worked on it, you know, Pecor, his house was in the movie, but you can see his own creativity in the set design and things like that. For me, the journal was, I can look at that and say, this is what I was thinking at that time in my life, and I can pinpoint those little pieces of the script and say, that's what I was emotionally thinking at the time, and it's just, it takes me back to, and to me, it was a great experience because, you know, rarely do you get to become empathetically involved in another character, yet still try to put a little bit of yourself into that, and you know, it ends up speaking back to you when you finally see it come all together.
It was just a waste, Annie. It was all just a waste.
There are moments in the film that genuinely move me, like that remind me where I've been in life for the last 7 years, what I was thinking. Like I can hear a certain line and go, oh my gosh, I remember where I was in life at that time, and just what we were going through, money problems or family issues or whatever. Like I just remember like, oh man, like that's crazy. Just the like how it just can bring you back like a smell. But hearing those lines, I think, are really phenomenal. And to me, they make the movie. Without those lines, the movie would not, like, I could care less.
All those years, everything I put myself through, it still happened.
Okay, you can enunciate a little bit more.
It was all just a waste, Danny. It was all just a waste. All those years, everything I put myself through, it still happened.
Yeah, that one's really good. Let's try recording. Okay.
Annie, please. Please don't do this to me. I can't live alone again.
With Norman, with Joel's situation, no money and no human resources that could fulfill that role, we didn't have any choice, so we just had to go with the aspect that we're going to re-record all of it. That was a very hefty learning experience. Just how am I going to go about it to try to make the dialogue as effective as possible? Because so essentially most of the dialogue on set was recorded with the built-in mic on a Canon 60D. So not very high quality, even as a reference.
I'm running late as it is, so save it for another time, okay?
No, please. There's not gonna be another time. Look, I just want to say, what you did for me, thank you. You didn't have to do that. Hey. I just wanted to tell you.
A lot is riding on me just to be technically proficient and to guide that process, but then a lot relies still ultimately at the core on the talent's ability. So Stephen Birch's ability, you know, like you can tell a few lines where he's still warming up a little bit, where he started to hit his stride more. But that was really difficult because we had to get him back in the mindset. He can't just say a line perfectly in sync. He has to have the right projection level, the right energy level, the right intonation.
Hello, Annie. Hello, Annie. Hello, Annie.
Look, Annie, I need you for something. I think less forceful on the Annie.
Okay, Annie, I need you for something.
If you're kind of unsure about it, typically people exert more energy.
Yeah.
So all these just nuanced little elements most people wouldn't think about, you have to hit them pretty darn close, otherwise the film is just going to fall apart.
Annie, I have wasted 3 years of my life in this stupid place. Annie, I have wasted 3 years of my life in this stupid place. I think we finally have a chance this time. I think we finally have a chance this time. This is what I need you to analyze for me. This is what I need you to analyze for me. It was all just a waste, Danny. It was all just a waste. All those years. Everything I put myself through, it still happened.
One, extremely breathy. Just try it.
It was all just a waste, Danny.
Yeah, there were definitely some times where I saw the script expanding and the plot getting more involved and thought to myself, when is this gonna stop? Like, you know, and this was a couple years in, when it had started out as a summer, you know, backyard project. And I think it was initially meant to be a short film, like maybe 15, 20 minutes. And it blew up. And at times I was like, okay, not what I, you know, thought this would be. Everyone on the project was volunteering time, and it wasn't really an issue of, oh, I'm not getting paid for this. It was like, for me, it was, who is this character? Like, how am I supposed to realistically portray this character when he is in development himself? I was not on the fence. I wanted to finish it because I'm not one to start a project like this and say, okay, this isn't what I, you know, thought it would be. I enjoyed every step of the process, but there were times where I was in question, like, when do I need to sit down and Joel and say, what are we doing here? And then he would show me footage. We never had that conversation, but he would show me footage and I would be like, wow, this looks great. Like, I can kind of see how that's folding into the broader plot. I'll keep going. And then when the Kickstarter dropped, and around that time there was a lot of, we did a lot of advertising for the film as well. Joel did a great job of pushing it out on social media and getting the word out, with, at least here in our town, you know, that we were working on this. And then it turned into something completely different at that point, because what I saw as this smaller film project gathered attention from around the globe. People in different countries were donating to this Kickstarter because they wanted to see the project filmed, and this was from a trailer we had put together. And at that point I was like, we've got something different here. This is good. This is gonna be really good. Let's finish it. And that was really the motivation I needed to finish it to the end. I didn't know it would take another 5 years, but it was, at that point I was like, okay, I trust Joel. I see Joel's vision. I have faith that somewhere in his head this all makes sense, and I'm just gonna go with that.
Look, just trust me, okay? What I need you to do is get the machine running, but this time keep the power levels as low as possible until I tell you to spike it, okay? Look, just trust me, okay? What I need you to do is get the machine running, but this time keep the power levels as low as possible until I tell you to spike it.
Even if you would get a line pretty close, I got to look forward to, number one, going through thousands of takes to find ultimately the best ones, cut from multiple takes to find the best match, like pairing overall, then use specific software that I had to learn to imprint characteristics from the crappy onboard audio that I had to denoise so you could somewhat hear what he was saying from it, and then impart that onto the re-recorded dialogue to get the sync a little bit better. And I would like tweak certain things that way, or then even take like pitch, like the inflection of the voice that he did better maybe from the original take, like on set when he was actually performing it there, whereas he didn't maybe hit the inflection as good for the re-recorded dialogue, and impart some of that so I could basically like alter the tonality of what he was saying. So he ends a sentence on a downbeat, on a, you know, a more of a pitch down intonation, you know, so it doesn't sound like a question and it sounds more definitive, and all these little things, again, nobody will really think about. We had to use reverb modeling software just to add that slight little bit of room acoustics to the voice, so it doesn't sound dry and too perfect. You know, I would EQ off some of the low end, roll off some of the higher frequencies, so it doesn't sound like someone that is just 2 inches away from a really nice mic.
Sir, you're bleeding everywhere.
No, I'm fine. Get out of here.
Whereas other people, other film projects, even with modest budgets, had certain just core luxuries. We had none of that. we had an uphill battle the entire way with limited resources, limited time, and manpower and stuff. But I think that, again, shows a testament of Joel's ability to persevere and to keep being, I mean, he has to be the biggest cheerleader for the project.
All those years, everything I put myself through, it still happened. Annie, I'm not going anywhere without you.
Like, yeah, breathy, but like you're using up all your air to be loud.
Annie, I'm not going anywhere without you.
He has to keep pushing, like, hey, do you have time? Do you have time? You know, and not just getting someone to work on it, but working on it and giving it their all every time. Like, that's a very difficult thing to do, so.
Literally got off the plane. All right, let's go to work. Here's a sandwich.
I know a lot of people now from Norman that are friends because of Norman, because we had this crazy ambitious goal of making this film, and because of that, that kind of kept us together. And then we just, you know, it was just such a weird, interesting relationship where it was kind of, you know, bound together by this film that seemed, you know, like we could do and it was going to be great. And then it just went on for years and years.
Day 127. Morale is high. This house is quite charming and comfortable.
I saw Norman on Kickstarter, and I watched the first trailer, and I was super, super impressed. So then I emailed Joel. I was so excited to do it that I was like, hey, I write music, and I said, I want to do the music for this film for free, if I have to. There was money involved, but I would have done it for free, and it turned it into this, like, you know, 3.5-year journey.
Action!
I remember when I was pitching for a different project, at the beginning of Norman, and I was still trying to figure out the themes for Norman. And this other project that I was pitching for, I wrote a like this 7-minute long demo, and after I wrote it, I realized this isn't for this project. This is for Norman. So, like, even when I was on other projects, still writing for Norman. It was kind of wrong, but like it was crazy. It was good. And it was just that for years. It was writing for Norman. It was, you know, taking a break from it for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months, and then coming back and then doing it again until, you know, 3.5 years later, we got a score out of it.
Hold still, okay? Don't move. Just got it. Screw up. So close.
One of the interesting hurdles literally was running around in forests around Virginia with nice shoes on. Like, there were some scenes where I was wearing a suit and glitches with the portal or whatever was happening put me in these, you know, rough situations wearing some nice clothing, and someone's shooting a gun at me and I gotta run. And so I have these nice shoes on, and I think I went through a couple pair of nicer shoes, sprinting through forests and jumping over logs and tripping on trees and different things like that.
That was nice. That was actually a really good
That was nice.
And I don't think those ended up making it into the final picture, but I was literally rock climbing in dress shoes over some pretty big cliffs that, you know, if I slipped, it was probably no more Norman. So that was definitely a challenge. I had fun, and I didn't really think about it at the time, but could have died several times.
So there are, again, quite a lot of challenges on Norman when it came to sound. I mean, number one, from the aspect of just sound designing something that Joel had in his head, try to communicate to me, and then I had to somehow make it happen. And again, I'm not someone that's been like, sound designing for 20 years on big films, all that kind of stuff. It's one thing to have an ear and choose the right, door open sound and door shut and a punch sound from a sound effects library. But it's something else to like have an intuitive nature to be able to, look at something that doesn't exist in the real world and find something that creates this level of tangibility, this real factor to it. What does this portal sound like? It could sound like 1,000 different things. You could just do some electrical arc thing itself, but it's not going to be full bodied. You know what I mean? Like it has to have all the elements there that just sell this as being a real thing. And so Joel communicate kind of generally what he wanted, and then it was up to me to just spend all night, spend the next couple days, whatever case it was, and go through my sound library, use specific elements. Then I would take plugins and mangle it and screw around with it. And then in a lot of instances, record some live elements as well, some more organic elements. And that's ultimately what played a really key role in kind of the sonic foundation of all three of the portals. And I forget how it ultimately came about, but I think Joel had texted me or called me on the phone or something one day, and because as we're kind of thinking of, what do we want to do for the portal sound, right? And he saw this really cool Australian wind instrument. And I think I remember he sent me like the YouTube video or something. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
All right, just testing it out.
And recorded that at like a higher sample rate, which just allows me to basically pitch things down or stretch things. And essentially there's just more data in there so I can mangle it, but the sound's not gonna fall apart and degrade that quickly and stuff. So we recorded lots of like slow to fast to slow to constant, like just lots of different variations. So I had a lot of material to work with, but ultimately that was decided on from Joel. I want this to be the core. So that's not the only sound that I use. It was just, he wanted that to retain like a texture throughout. For all the portals, to make up that one sound, we're looking at, like 20 different elements, that I would process a certain way and stuff. So 20 to 30 elements to make up kind of one core kind of sound.
We committed to doing this project without fully realizing the scope of what we were signing on for. And then once we signed on for it, it was kind of like, well, it's kind of you guys, so it's gonna have to be you. And that was interesting because there wasn't really a chance to back out. There wasn't a back door or anything. It was like, great, you ready for the assets? Okay, here they are. And we're bringing over a hard drive with like 40 more shots of the same thing. It was like, okay, all right. Like we were thinking a one-off visual effect shot or two, but it was more like, here's the scene. This is a component of the scene that you will digitally create. And then here's like 400 shots that have that digital component that you need to track into the shot. And it's like, oh, perfect.
Our first design for the future time machine involved carving a very elaborate shape out of styrofoam and then using some sort of a surface paint on it, and it was all very futuristic and failed miserably. And after several horrible attempts at carving this styrofoam, we ended up taking the whole thing and throwing it in the dumpster. And but we ended up with a better one with the semi-transparent tubes and the LED lighting. We had the vertical pieces sliding apart, but in order to accomplish that, we had thought we would use sliders on a tube, and it would be a soft cloth or something that it would just gently slide apart, nice and neat, but it didn't work out that way, and they ended up tipping over almost every time. And so we ended up with rollers, which look basically like inline skates. This solved one of the problems in that we could get the thing to slide smoothly apart, but unfortunately it didn't solve the problem of the things tipping over at the end of opening. So we ended up buying lead ingots to place on the top of these things, and you'll see them in the film, to weigh these things down so that they would not just flip over every time we operated the time machine. I've always enjoyed watching films, but never had a film background, so this was my first time ever building props, and ever since being involved with a film and building props, now whenever I watch a film, I'm looking for items to see, especially in science fiction, what clever ways people have used things from hardware stores and everyday life to make futuristic pieces of spaceships and other technology that I never did before. And I've learned a lot about general filmmaking.
Which direction do you want to move it? Towards Joy?
Probably because my arms are.
I'd say so, probably.
All right.
Because it might be kind of interesting because you can get more light from this side. And
I felt like this film could only be worth it if the movie really felt special. And so I had to work so hard to figure out ways to make the movie special and feel handcrafted. And that just took so much patience, because I knew the only way I could get the quality I was hoping for is by waiting for opportunities to be to present themselves. Whether when it came to music, I mean, music was such a highlight of the production.
I think I went into this thinking, I'm gonna finish this in a few months. I'm gonna move on to a different project. It's gonna be great.
Did we all?
and like, so, you know, that's how I sort of approached it, and that was the biggest challenge for sure, because again, you know, the budget thing.
Maybe just like have it way far back.
Or I could do it from the side.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You ready?
It was when Norman builds his wooden time machine, and he's about to go through it, and he leaves his glasses down. Like, I couldn't figure that out. I think I spent 2 months on that one scene, and it's like, what, 7 minutes or so? And yeah, man, I just threw everything at that. And we scrapped, and we replaced, and we you know, I think at some point I just layered as many things as I could, because this was like kind of the climax. He finally goes into his old world to figure out what happened, and how do you build up this climax, this arc, this story form into something that can like make people feel like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing that I've ever experienced. This is gonna be nuts. And like, what's on the other side?
Some of the harder scenes were early on, like I mentioned previously, when my understanding of Norman was limited. It was hard to get on the same level as that character, and so I think it took a lot more coaching from Joel in the mindset of, you know, Norman at that specific time. It took a lot on his part to convey what was going on.
You're looking at it, okay? When I say Q,
You look out and you like have more of this like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And when you look out, just slowly drop the item and set it down.
But then as the story progressed, as I got more familiar with the characters, Annie and Norman, the scenes were a little more easy to relate to, easy to connect with.
As we started to like get more into filming and get more involved with the process itself, and it started stretching out over time, I wanted it to be excellent too. Like I saw how much heart and soul was being literally just dumped into this film. And that alone, I mean, even if you guys still need us to come back and film right now, I probably would have been like, sure. Because it's a heart project. I can see how much heart, honestly, was put in by you guys. Even if I didn't feel good about like what I did personally, like I would want you guys to be proud of what you've been doing because of the quality work you're able to produce and how much heart and soul you've been putting into it. That sold me out like all these years. Yeah, I believe in you guys. I believe in the team.
And action.
Joel did a really good job of laying out the project as far as organization, as far as expectation. There was some pretty clear direction and really organization. I think that was a treat to work on. It's easy to get lost in a flood of clips and a flood of information and data and even requests, but it was easier than it should have been, all things considered. The fact that we stretched a project over so many years, the fact that there was the shooting happened over that duration of time, making it look consistent, keeping the same effect, so the one portal effect, having to use it in multiple different shooting dates and whole scenes, but making it look consistent so it was the same effect. There was definitely some challenges there, but it was surprisingly not as difficult as it probably should have been.
We need to get a go over here. Returning shot. You're still using it. So pick her up. Little thing off.
When Joel first sent me this shot for the trailer, you mentioned a time traveling portal, and obviously you get kind of like super giddy just the thought of doing any sort of a visual effect like this. So I just was like, all right, what do we need? We need lightning bolts, we need a wormhole. So I just made this like crazy over the top, like very effectsy sort of result. And I don't think it made it in the trailer. I think it was just, I just kind of wanted to show like, I can do time travel, I can do a portal, it'll be super cool. And so, yeah, and then of course, wanting to try to get it to reflect on the mask, I thought that would be a neat little feature that would translate through. But, very little of this actually, well, none of this ended up in the final result, but at least gave me a sense of like what was to come, just because it was so key that we make it look realistic. Like, because I got excited, but I think the key for this thing when it comes to the visual effects is like, you shouldn't even know that there was work done to it. It should just feel like camera was rolling. That was part of the shot.
Instantly, she was like,
It's the battle scene towards the end of the film. It took several months to get people involved, to get people to show up, to buy like fake guns, ammo, camouflage, all that kind of stuff, and to figure out the logistics of filming in this junkyard at night, which I've never done before. But something I tried to do in Norman is every scene is a little different. Something's in the rain, something's outside, there's close-up shots, here's this time machine. I had to work really, really hard to figure out ways to make the movie feel big, even though we had no budget, no really sets or anything. How can I make Norman feel like it goes places and does things like a bigger movie without actually having any of that? And so with the battle scene, I was like, we got to make this really impressive, just so it's just like, it comes out of nowhere and it just feels big and it feels like there's a much larger world going on and Norman's just this tiny person that's a part of some big problem that happened. We had Picor on generator, he had his truck going, we had these lights, and we filmed everything in 7 hours, but the scariest part was I knew I only had one night to do this, just one night to pull it off. So none of it was scripted. All I had was essentially, we knew Norman starts at this sequence, this is what happens to him, and then he escapes here. So we had to figure out all the in-betweens as we went, because essentially I had no idea. We had people I had scheduled to show up which didn't show up, and we had random people that just randomly showed up that ended up being the people that were in the film.
Everybody ready? Yeah. Action!
I really enjoyed the junkyard scene just because we had so many people involved in it, and it felt more like a real scene with crew and actual craft services and all that going on. It was that was a lot of fun.
Drag, okay, up here, like this, okay, and your head's just have your head down like this, okay?
Okay, so that means a mask.
I'm thinking, can we have this almost
So
like
we
to the
just gotta
side
let
instead
it
of straight on?
Yeah. We don't throw it.
Because I need to have what's his face.
It was so fast-paced. We had one night to shoot this entire scene, and it was like a symphony of Joel's moving here, I gotta follow along, and it just kept going and going and going. And it was like 30 degrees outside, and neither of us were wearing jackets because we were just so like moving so fast and so in the moment.
So they were essentially laying down track. So as I was filming a scene with Steven or another person aiming or shooting, they were already figuring out the next logistics of, okay, so Norman goes from here, he shoots this person, this over here, then the truck happens, and we were trying to figure out that. So I'd just be filming as they're laying down track. As soon as I was done, they go, okay, we could have this guy do this, and this guy over here, and this too. So I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And then I would film that, and I would just figure it out. And then right when I was doing that, they would run to the next section going, okay, now Steve comes back over here, we need this actor, we need this person over here. And that was just literally an absolutely wild night. I think we pulled off a pretty cool sequence for having literally no plan other than start, middle, and an end, and somehow it's got to work. It was gonna be much bigger, but we realized just lighting it was just crazy hard, and we didn't have a whole lighting crew at all. We had no lighting crew. We had one person pretty much. We brought everything closer and intimate, and I think it worked pretty well.
Bandit battle scene had like a lot of like paying attention to what the actors are doing, and some of them, I mean, it's like you're sitting there watching them, like they're doing this, and there's no real cues as to what they're doing, so you're kind of just like paying attention, like how many times is this person actually shooting, and what does that actually look like, and how does that translate back? So be like, I'm gonna make this person shoot 3 times because it kind of looks like that, but some of them are like this, and it's like, oh, maybe the gun's not really gonna do that, but you kind of figure things out as you go, and like, I don't know, making those things look realistic and making like it be such that if somebody watches it back who knows about guns, it's looking accurate.
Most people might start their first film and it's just a lot more dialogue based. So visually things are explained, and then other things are communicated just through conversations happening and stuff like that. So again, in this film, right from the bat, Joel chose to dive headfirst, just, assuming that I'll be able to, essentially, hold up my end of the bargain. And again, I felt like I would do a decent job, but just over the process that the film took, it ultimately, I think, was a good thing, because through other projects and just my own growth as a sound professional, by the time we got to the final re-record mix, I had a much better way of thinking of how to approach and combine all these elements where they're not all clashing, and we're giving space so the viewer can pick up on all the key things that we want, instead of just barraging them with so many things that they end up just kind of filtering it all out.
Action. Annie, I figured it out. No, seriously, I figured it out. Get that light. All right. How do we go around this? In the way. Look, just trust me, okay?
What I need you to do is get the machine running, but remember this time to keep the power level as low as possible until I tell you to punch it.
The most challenging thing far and away was like people interacting with the Annie screen. When it was sitting on like the little tray that it would sit on, tracking was like pretty easy and pretty consistent. But anytime it was like, hey, let's pick this up and move it to the other side of the room, it's like shaking everything all around and getting that track to actually look consistent and have a motion blur on it, and getting the skew right is like, especially in the opening scene where like it passes, like one of the scientists is like passing Annie across. It's difficult. Starting with the shot with like the Annie screen down here, and it goes out, and then it goes back down to reveal it as he's like,
his hands covering.
He's like, his hands covering it, and he like goes down and he goes to grab something, and then he bumps the only thing that we can track onto, and he bumps everything, and as he's like plugging these things in, and actually like getting like you barely see anything, but it's just enough to where you have to track it, like, and like you need to have the perspective be all the same too, because like as you track it here, you need to have it so that it's like the actual image, which is the same Annie screen, is like basically down here. So as you're tracking, like you have, if with the corner pins, like these, there's nothing to grab onto. So these are potentially just doing crazy things. Anyway, it took forever, and
Just trust me, okay?
it ended up being a really good result. But
Get the machine running.
this probably was one of the most difficult tracking shots in the whole movie.
Well, Joel and I worked together on conceptualizing what Annie's face would be on the screen. And we wanted something that would both visually show her speech, but also give her a presence, which is why there's a pulsing circle in the center.
I would track with Mocha just these edges and then create a stabilized pre-comp so that the Annie interface could be consistent throughout every single shot. So once you go in, you'd have like just the Annie interface just to work with. So that could be consistent and copied from shot to shot, and then it would look the same, like it was the same interface all the time. I actually use like one composition for every shot. For
Oh my gosh.
The Annie online thing, just so like, and this actually like saved my butt like totally, because I used this one thing, which is just a pre-comp of the Illustrator file, and there was one thing where like, let's actually like change this to be a certain, something else different, and I had to like re-render like 20 shots, and all I had to do was just change out this one thing, which was awesome. It saved me like so much time.
For the drone scene, it was very hard for Joel to take his vision that he had in his head and translate it to what I was working on. We would sit there with the timeline for the drone. I remember it's like a picture stuck in my head now. Joel with his iPhone showing me how he wanted the drone to float through the shot. The amount of times that I saw that iPhone go by me as I'm sitting at my desk, I'm gonna remember that forever. When you're working on stuff like this, iteration is key, and Joel has never been afraid to say, okay, this is good, but we can do better. So I had 8K textures for this drone, custom hand-painted rivets and decals, because again, it's hard to sometimes visualize what Joel was visualizing in his head. And I had this grand drone shot pictured where it was gonna have this like hero shot of it coming, I don't know, attacking the main character. I had no idea what it was going to be, so I was preparing for that. And then Joel's like, no, these go in the background. So I just remember for the drone shots, him going, no, make it smaller. Shrink it down smaller, smaller. And, you know, I'm glad that we put the effort in to do it right, but it's still hilarious that all that work went into this super detailed drone that, you know, is in the background of a shot for the most part. But that's important. For a small scale project, we didn't try to go crazy with these, you know, front and center visual effects. We kept it simple, and that's why I think those shots worked so well, is we kept it grounded.
The other part of me is in fear of how much I've altered my own path and the effects that remain unseen. Regardless, I have work to do, and I shouldn't waste time with speculation.
Okay. That was good.
I don't even remember how many times Joel and I talked. And like, I remember him walking, like taking multiple walks, and just hearing his Facebook audio messages, and just being like, yeah, Daniel, this so when Norman's on the he's like, oh, sorry, I'm just hiking, or like I'm walking right now. Or I think you were on a run at some point. So he's just trying to, he's trying to dig into these characters with me, and yeah, everything, all of it's a challenge, and it's always a challenge. And it always turns out, fruitful, of course.
Is he put his gun down at any point? Or is he gonna hold it?
Do you want me to take off the glove or leave it on?
Might be okay to keep it on.
The last scene is when I figured out what Norman was about. The very last scene. I did this in a serial manner, in sequence, right? I started from the beginning, from the VO all the way to the journal being burned, and I didn't figure out who Jenny was. I didn't figure out who Norman was. I thought I did. I'd written a theme for them. I didn't figure out what the movie was about until we got to the last scene, and Norman leaves Annie behind. And Annie's like the greatest, like she makes the greatest sacrifice. And so that is what helped me overcome this challenge of trying to figure out Norman, is to figure out who Annie was to Norman. And to Norman, Annie is like, I don't know, she kind of reminds me of Jesus, because she makes the greatest sacrifice for his sin. Like, I don't know if that was intentional, but like, it's for his, for his sin of wanting to bring his parents back and changing maybe the entire world, and like breaking it. He broke the world, and Annie saved him from that in a way. And sound design really brought it together when Annie is no longer in Norman's head. Jonah, you put an Annie in the ether, right? And it's like, and I think I hope audiences get that. And if they don't, it's like it's still there. That you have this internal sort of, emotion and feeling in it. I think audiences figure that out.
Like go to the shot where he's here, like after he first walks in. Hold that. Can you hold that a little bit longer? Just like kind of he's like, I haven't seen this for 3 years. How is it still intact? Like he's trying to process.
As a true sign of being a 21st century filmmaking process, a lot of the time spent working with Joel was virtual. We would get on Skype and we would talk about the script, or we would just discuss ideas, not necessarily plugging through a script, but just pitching ideas to each other. Hey, I had this thought today, here you go. And even when it came to the editing process, I didn't have to necessarily be sitting beside him at all times, and he never was sitting beside me, coming back and forth. We did have these big sessions where he would drive down to where I was living, and I would drive to where he was living, and just have these really long editing sessions. But there were times throughout where we would just virtually share over Skype, and I would just watch him edit, and I would see the flows. Hey, how about you take just a cut faster than that? Is there a different take of that? That didn't seem as powerful.
So make it already in the middle of an action, and then
Okay,
you
so
just
you
go
can
to
do
the next action. So it's not like action. So already have it in the middle of him doing something.
So.
I think it works.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Sweet. That works.
We have the base, what the shot was, and it's just Norman looking off onto some dunes. You got like some like powered lines and whatever in the background, but then Joel and Ben created like a whole setup with like dunes and the wall and everything like that. And then what I did is I tracked these little guys off in the distance, which is a little bit tough, but like it's a pretty basic shot. It doesn't move a ton, but it moves a little bit. So I tracked those little guys off in the distance, and then put that on top of it, and then cut out Norman.
Being that the story was constantly evolving and shifting, there was a learning process, I'm sure, on the back end. But then you needed to almost see the visual effects in there to know that this either will work or won't work. So there was one day in particular that I spent an entire day making this wall of sand, a big sandstorm coming up over a hill, and I was cutting out the edges of the hill and trying to make realistic like dust particles and all this stuff. And I worked all day and I sent Joel a render, and at the end of the day, I'm like just so tired. He's like, oh yeah, we cut that shot. And it's just like, really? Like, okay, you know, so like there was a little bit of a disconnect at times where we would move forward, but it's almost like you have to cross the bridge to know, oh, I took the wrong bridge. You know, you won't know until you're on the other side. And so there was a little bit of that. It wasn't enough that I'm gonna bitch and moan about it, but it happened once or twice.
And if I'm not seeing your face, I'm not showing you, you can just probably wear it. So hold it really still. Action. Cue. Fire. Action. Fire.
So we got like the little splinters coming out here, and went and masked out this bigger thing, which is actually just
Oh, wow, that's cool.
this picture of this that I just found a little splinter of and cut a little splinter thing out there so it looked like a bullet hole.
Fire. Got nice. You guys are gonna be firing back up in the hill. And so what we'll do is I'm gonna do one wide kind of shot that'll get all of you guys kind of like you know, taking cover.
A bunch of Civil War reenactors came 8 hours away and they had all their weapons, etc. I want to make sure to be able to get some really good gun recordings while we have them up here.
All right, this is the Remington 1861 Sharps 54 caliber rifle, dry fire.
Lift up a little bit, even higher. I want to see how far high you can get out of frame. Like lift it up. Ready? Action.
One of the things that posed a little bit of a continuity problem was this shot right here where Alex is laying on the ground and he spits up blood. And he, like, as he lands, he has blood already kind of on his face from the makeup. So he's down and then he has blood on his face, then he coughs up more blood. But in the previous shot, it's such that he's getting shot. So you see his face perfectly clean, and then he lands and he has a dirty face. So what we need to do is kind of have it be such that there's like blood hit or splurt that could like get on his face. But the thing's so fast, so just adding the blood thing is what we had to do. So as you see here, we just kind of did that and had it kind of spray up on his face like he got shot.
Watch out!
Move up, move up! Action. Okay, you're done.
I think with the film in general, I have to hold up
the other half of the bargain essentially with Joel. Joel, he crafted the visual elements of how the story was told and seen, because he does all the camera work. He thinks visually, but the other half of the sound, and in some ways I think just a little bit more than half of the movie experience has to do with sound, because I also create off-screen space. So as sound people, we have the opportunity to create a larger world than is just within the 16:9 or CinemaScope frame. So, you know, again, with a film at this level where there are some limitations and stuff like that, to make it more impactful, if you really bring your A game with sound, you can do that, because you can have images falter and to some degree, and people will buy it and not even think twice about it. But if the sound is not up to snuff, in many ways, subconsciously, people view it as more of an amateur film and stuff like that.
Suit power at full capacity. Facility diagnostics complete. Any system.
Hello, Norman.
Hello, Annie.
Running suit diagnostics. One moment, please.
You ready?
Of course I am.
Good.
So again, I always knew that I would be able to do a good job, but there was always anxiety, like, will I be able to do a great job? You know, and every time I finish one element, I finally feel good about that. Joel reminds me that there's 1,000 more elements that I've yet to do. And there's the element of like, oh, it's never gonna end. And then the other element of like, oh man, okay, how do I get the motivation to like try to figure out like what will be good with here? Okay, I hit a home run here. It's hard to like keep hitting home runs. You know what I mean? Like maybe be one thing again, like if you've been doing this for like decades or just a really long time, you know, or learned under the tutelage of the most incredible people. But when you're figuring out things a lot of times by yourself, you know, it's a little bit more daunting. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of anxiety just to live up to my own standards for myself and to live up to what I know Joel had in his head. My brother initially was going to do Foley, and I don't know what crazy idea thought we could do that, and that we scrapped all of it, and we hired it out from a company that he flew over to meet, and they did an incredible job.
Давай.
And then Jonah put that in and started doing his own sound effects. Thinking about it now, like it's sometimes hard to think about the years where we somehow thought we were going to get this done in a certain way, and it's completely different now, going, oh my gosh, what were we thinking?
It was definitely a shift to go from working, you know, at a desk on the animation of Norman to then actually starring, quote unquote, in a couple of small scenes. I've never been one to be in front of a camera and to do a whole lot of acting. I didn't do theater or anything like that as a kid or in college. So I just kind of showed up with just enthusiasm and a pretty fun costume. We had torn up, stained it with vinegar and all kinds of stuff to age it, and just went for it. And then I got to have Joel and the rest of my friends yell at me to be angrier and to be more enthusiastic and to be more emphatic.
Your background?
Start to pull your gun out.
Hey, take it easy. I gotta do it again. Take it easy.
Reset.
You gotta be, when you walk out. As soon as you see that walk out, like, start putting the action. Action. All right, guys. On the street. Press the group. Look, background. Pull the gun out. Take it easy. Put the gun down. Put it down.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Put the gun down.
Put the gun down. You don't want any trouble.
Background, can you guys get a little bit closer? Can you come out a little bit sooner? Yeah. If you fumble it really bad, just stop and do it again. Okay. And look like you're being forceful, Dave.
It was a process, but it was a fun shift, again, to go from working at a desk to being in front of the camera and to kind of see everybody else in action and to see Joel in action, because you can see when he's got that camera in his hands, he knew exactly what he wanted out of you, and he was going to keep doing additional takes until he got what he wanted.
Action. Cue background. Put the gun down. Matt, put it down. Put the gun down. Put it down.
Like I said before, I enjoyed every aspect of this film being made, and I wish my skill set was broader so that I could have helped in, you know, different ways than just acting. Like, I think it's a much more difficult task to organize your thoughts in, you know, all these files into a comprehensive, you know, sound product, or editing all the film in a specific way. There's so many different aspects to this that I wish I could be better at. And so being able to help with ADR, even though that's, you know, it's acting, coming in and seeing how that process worked and understanding the technology behind it was a lot of fun. And it was a whole week of, you know, re-recording over every single line that I had said in the movie, because a lot of times, or most of the time, there wasn't someone recording sound on set. So we had to go back and do all that over again. And it wasn't hard, you know, initially getting the hang of saying my lines in sync with the picture I was watching, or the video I was watching of myself. It was kind of odd, but the software made it really easy, and it was a lot of fun just to see how that works. So I'm really excited to see the final version of that and how it blends in now.
What images? You aren't making any sense.
The first couple times was just trying to get timing. How much time do I have to say this?
Mm-hmm.
And taking in the character at the same time. So I felt like it would take maybe a round to get into what is the actual feel of the interaction. And then after that point, after figuring out the tricky stuff, I was able to focus more on character and how I was, because she doesn't have a presence herself. It was pretty realistic in that sense, because she's not able to reach out.
Goodbye, Norman.
Have to be very careful to not cross the line of making the character too wooden or just too human. It has to feel at all times that it is something that he created. And you assume that he created this device with a piece of him in that, maybe the strength so that he's not, something to balance him, which is why in the end she was able to make the sacrifice for him, because he was the one who was struggling with selfishness. And so she was that balance to him, even though she was really technically connected to him. He created her. So that was the best part of him that he struggled to bring forward.
Action. Look, just trust me, all right?
It was a very good balance, I think, for Stephen Burge's character of Norman, where he just loves the past. He loves getting away from his own time, his own present. But Annie's kind of all futuristic. She's okay with that. But Norman's not like that. So they have a cool little kind of bickering. But essentially, she's very much Norman's conscience throughout the whole film.
Scene 34. Take one.
It is complete. Nice to meet you, Norman Brandt.
Norman Brandt? Norman Brandt. Huh. Good job, Danny. I like it.
But I feel like we found a good balance of giving her a personality that Norman would connect with, and a device that is still powerful enough to change any aspect of his life to a degree where he felt the need to shut her down. And that was a really fun scene for us to write, just going through and saying, what else can we add? What else can we add? How can we make it just seem like this device, that knowledge of any given amount of time between when she was created in the future to the past was just unlimited power at Norman's fingertips. And so when we were working on that scene, we're like, man, we really need to give him a reason to have turned off that device. He can't just turn it off because I need to do this on my own. He really needs to say to himself, if I have this device at my disposal, something bad can definitely happen.
You're making a huge mistake.
Goodbye for now.
Let me help you. There are things you don't understand about your effects on the youth.
Prior to this, every acting experience I had was with another individual on stage, 2-3 feet, maybe more away from me. And, you know, I could respond to that. I could listen to them and react to what they were saying. But when the character that my character was interacting with was so many different people at any given point, you know, it could have been Jason Pecor reading Annie's lines. It could have been one of Joel's brothers reading the lines. Whoever it was reading the lines, it wasn't the same character that I had been interacting with before.
Norman, the strand is just veered off course.
What do you mean? By how much?
0.0000.
Annie, is it holding?
No, the strand is still moving, very slowly.
And so that did present some challenges as far as making that believable, at least in my head. You know, I can't wait to see how it looks, you know, as a finished product.
Hold the hat up just a little bit higher. Okay, and action. Okay, put it on. Cut. Nice. Stay right there. A little bit closer. This is kind of hilarious.
This is probably the Joel, how you doing, Ben? I would do anything for you, Joel.
Another role I played was in script writing and also in the UI elements, was to make the technobabble more believable and accurate to something that would be resembling real life. So when we have a radio broadcast in the future, we make sure it's something realistic, not just made up numbers. And some of the more technical aspects, like the planet alignment during one scene, was an actual alignment and real date that you can verify with NASA. Just worked on making some of the more science-y elements more believable and less amateurish.
This is a super unique project in the fact that it was so long-term. And while working on it, we had normal clients who were ready to actually pay us real money to do work for them. And so I kept feeling bad because we get a text from Joel. Joel just stopped texting me after a while because I just shut him down. I would just like, I don't have time for this right now. But that's where Sam stepped in, and Sam was like, okay, yeah, Adam's busy, but yeah, come on over. I'll help you out with something. So eventually, you know, Sam kind of took the reins, but I'm, you know, trying to run a company and keep normal, you know, paying jobs coming in. It was like the mother back burner, you know, it was like just this back burner project that was just constantly lingering, like that awkward uncle that just is always at the family reunion that you know you got to talk to and hug, but you're just kind of trying to avoid a little bit. So eventually I just kind of like excused myself to the bathroom for the duration of the reunion while Sam stepped in and kind of, you know, did his job. I think one of the challenges was kind of restarting the machine each time, because we would literally step away from this thing for 3 months and then here's some new updates, or we'd have a little window of time where, okay, hey, things slow down so we can work on it again. But we'd almost have to like re-engage the gears and what were we doing there? Oh yeah, Sam, you were working on that shot, or oh, I already did this. You know, there's a couple of those where like, I got these tracks done, and then Sam's like, oh, I did all those like 2 days ago. So like we doubled up on work because I didn't ask him if he had worked on them. So we had a few of those, but certainly unique in the fact that just, I've never worked on something so long, and it's not even my project.
I never go into a movie or into working with someone, into any collaboration, without first being like, yeah, I'm gonna be 100,000% invested. What's the point? You know, like, what's the point? So yeah, I was completely invested from the very beginning, from before I even emailed to like get on the project, where most people are like, yeah, whatever, everybody wants to write music for us. Like, that's the world of like pitching, you know, in a general sense. I'm gonna email a filmmaker and say, hey, I write music, let's do this. Yeah, I mean, you were so kind in how you approached me that further cemented my investment. Like, I was gonna do this no matter what. You know, and that happened because I'm also the kind of person that can't really say no. and like, that's bad too.
And you found out the hard as evidence, but
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, every
3 years later.
I mean, you've. I'm not saying this to be like, oh my God, you've asked so much of me, but like, you have asked so much of me.
So if you hold it like really still, I could even just like do this and like.
This whole time it's just like stuck in your head thinking, is this gonna work? Is this gonna be something worthwhile to anybody's time? Are people gonna see it and then just forget about it? And I go, man, maybe I didn't have to spend 7 years on it. Maybe we could have just cut so many corners here. There's a lot of opportunities to cut corners, but like, to me, like, I knew I couldn't live with myself if I cut these corners because we'd already spent so much time. What was another 6 months? To me, that's how it got to the point. 6 months is like a freaking week to me now.
Keep going, keep going.
Another difficulty in working on the film, obviously, is of this size, is the budget. When you have a very limited budget, you have to make decisions based on that. And I think it kind of forced everybody to, you know, do their best, but also to really focus on the story elements of the character. We couldn't do, you know, the big, huge, typical sci-fi scenes, but being able to really focus on that core character, being able to really dive into what he would be feeling if he were really this character stuck in time. And I think it made the writing better. I think it made, I think collectively it made everybody have to approach it in such a unique way that I think it turned out to be a special story.
Flip it out, don't go fast. Flip it out, slowly. Action. Action!
I think there's a lot of similarities between me and Norman because I'm Norman. Like, I used everything about me to make that character come to life. So yeah, I think there's a lot he and I have in common as far as an appreciation for the analog in life, the not so digital, the older things that require some tinkering and some patience to work with. I think Norman's a patient person, and I try to be. I hope I am, but yeah, there's probably a lot. There's probably a long list. I could, point to different things that he and I have in similar or have in common.
Leave! Let's
try it one more time, because I think that was really good. Let's do it one more time. But instead of immediately coming down, open the door, just stand there for like a half second. Just have the hammer just a little solo.
Not too long, because I'm not gonna be like, here we go.
Just open the door like this, and then walk. So it's like that. Just open, walk.
Okay. Open.
The Norman character, his whole being is very much rooted in the past already. He's from the future, but his identity, like what he likes, what fulfills him is from the past. He likes old recordings. He likes how he dresses is more old-timey. So it would only be befitting of him to create a device that reflects his personality and stuff. And that's kind of the whole theme we took from cutting up all these assortments of sounds from the hard drives, different error bleeps and boops and stuff like that. Cut them together, mangle them up to create something different and new, to essentially be the voice of Annie. And that was really difficult because it's like, hey Joel, like I just got this new great library, so I was thinking of going this, like, no, just use those hard drive sounds. Well, I have all these sounds that sound really good, and like they're really clean and crisp and like, you know, made by some other awesome sound designer or whatever that makes sound effects. No, I just want you to use these old hard drive YouTube sounds.
I have acquired a home from a recently deceased person with no known living
To
relatives.
Joel's credit, you know, being obstinate, you know, paid off well. And I would see that even too, where I might be more want to instinctually kind of push back. I would constantly have to just like, and I think every good creative needs to get to this point where to a certain degree you have to finally just divorce yourself from what you might like in the particular moment. Like, I like sound, so naturally we're gonna be biased. Like, I want this cool sound here, or I want this sound to sound epic here. But a good director is looking at things more holistically. They should be looking at things more holistically. So it's like, yeah, that sound is really great, but if we play this, then that other cool sound you made later on is going to have less of an impact. So it's like, let's bring some things down here so we can push things up there. And again, you know, if for a sound person, most of the time, if you've done your job, people don't really notice the sound, because they sure as heck do when it's not up to snuff.
And then we had DC and his friend Trent. They both offered to color the film. And they flew me out and they paid for everything. And these guys just blew my mind for how much they really appreciated the film and they just wanted to see it done. They were backers from 2014. And to me, that was scary. That was really scary to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Should I be sending this film to these random people? Like, are they going to steal the film? I don't know what I was doing at the time. So that was a huge risk. And I remember telling my wife, I was like, I'm going to fly there. And if this doesn't feel right, I'm going to tell them thank you and I'll pay them back or whatever. And I get out of there. But they ended up just blowing my mind with just how kind they were, how much passion they had for the project.
Okay, so the director would like these trees to be a little bit more contrasty without affecting the top of the screen. So what we're going to do is just add a window that will affect just these trees. We'll make it a little bit bigger so we don't mess up the sky. And we'll make this mat a little bit soft. And if I turn this button on, you can see what will actually be affected. So it's mostly the bottom of these trees and then a gradient upwards. And then I'm just gonna add a little more contrast to those trees, just a hair, and then we're gonna play it to see if we like it. So
you're already almost there then.
Well, we could do that, or we could do something like, you know, like really stretch it, really push it into something um, Damnation Alley-esque, you know, if you guys remember that movie. Maybe I'm dating myself. You can really see it here. You can see what I'm working on. Just mainly like...
Either one of two things are true. Either a lot of the lighting scenarios happen to have...
So this is a good example of how small the small little details translate well, because in this shot you just watch it and you kind of accept it as is. But if you take out the base footage, you can see we're talking literally one frame moments of the reactive lighting, of seeing our subject going from dark to light as the muzzle flash appears. And so in real life, if there was a big illuminated, you know, muzzle flash happening in the front, it would cast some light and shoot some light over on the face. And so, but just for that moment, you know, so this is just on an alpha channel. I can even take off the alpha channel. You can just see the flash reactions here on nothing as the bullets appear, and then obviously bring it back in the main footage. You can see them there. It just adds that little extra bit of realism to sell it. You know, if we just had little muzzle flashes, which you see in a lot of other films, they'll just stick a muzzle flash in there. They don't think through that extra element of how is it going to react. And then we can jump a little deeper and see just the individual shell casings kind of coming out of the gun as the shots are being fired.
The bar is here, and it's always going to be here. If I can't get to here, to me it's not a movie. To me it's not, I'm not proud of it. It has to be here. I don't need to be above the bar, I have to hit the bar. That to me it's like, this is just a waste, literally a waste of time unless it hits here. And so throughout the whole film, when it came to visual effects and working with Adam and Sam as they would track things and show me stuff, I was always aware that they were fairly new to some of this, because they were new to the sense of not doing visual effects, but they were new to the sense of doing stuff that really had to look realistic. I had to look at it and go, that looks like a real device, or that looks like it's working. If it didn't, to me it's kind of like, well, now it just looks like a, I don't know, a quick fun video you do on the weekends, and just, it's fine, like, because, you know, we only spent 10 hours on it, but it had to look like something I spent years on, crafting and looking really good. So it was always tough to have to ask them to keep polishing it or dial it back a little bit, because I knew it was very, it was tough on everyone, because it was so much extra work. No one is getting barely any money for any of this, and everyone knew that, but I had to get it done some way.
There's this emotional connection when you help someone complete their project. You inherit and adopt some of their passion and some of their love and their drive. And so though it's not as groundbreaking for me to see a friend have a victory and to be a part of that journey is very rewarding. And the fact that here, a guy I've known for years, the fact that I'm able to step in and help him accomplish something and be a part of this amazing project that he's really poured himself into, that's really neat. That's on par with, like, I got to coach your son, or I got to, like, marry your daughter or something like that. I mean, it's a real, as I look back at this project, that's what I'm gonna walk away with, is just a real warm sense of joy that came from helping a friend accomplish something that they really had set their mind on doing.
It's like the whole adage, like, good, fast, cheap, pick two kind of thing. Like, if you want really, really high quality, and that's what Joel demanded throughout the whole process, the only way he was going to get that is through an elongated time, because, you know, if we're not all getting weekly checks and stuff, so it's like we have to work hard and make money elsewhere, so it will free us up to work really hard on his film that we're not getting anything tangibly from. You know, it's sure, you know, I think hopefully if the film, you know, has success and people enjoy it, then, you know, we'll glean something on the back end there, and just gratification in general. But it really took a large sacrifice for all the core team involved, because we really had to sacrifice a lot. And even more so than just the core team, you know, our spouses had to sacrifice a lot. Just knowing that when they could, you know, be spending time with us, we had to be spending time looking at Stephen Burge all day, every day.
I think we're headed toward this direction. What flip scene are we talking about? Is it the one where I'm rolling on the rock or in the woods?
In the woods.
Okay. So, if you're right. Yeah.
Action.
I grew up watching movies, and so, you know, all these characters I love, growing up, I want to do mine the right way. I want to make a character that people like. I want this person to be believable. And as much as possible, I want my friends to watch this film, and even if it's just for a second, not remember that that's me. Wait, was that Stephen Burge or... No, that's Norman. I confuse them, trick them, and make them believe this character. And I have a long way to go in making that better, I think. But it was an easy decision for me to say, I want to commit everything I can at this point, or I have as an actor. I want to commit everything I have to making this project as good as it can be, as far as it concerns me.
Action.
Oh man, Jules, kill him.
So for me, the big takeaway was it was easy to jump in and jump out, and whenever needed, I was really excited to do it. But like I was saying earlier, my big takeaway was you guys and your commitment, and as a team, how that changed it from not being like, oh, you're the actors, like we're part of this team that's trying to put together something special and make it excellent, and it's not going to be finished until it is excellent. So my big takeaway is not just putting it together quick over a couple years even, you know, like take the time, make it as good as you can, be proud of it, and I think the process has been worth it, honestly, and not stopping growing and learning from where you were.
Action.
Go into business, go into collaborations with people you love and like you trust, you know? And like I trust all of you. I trusted all of you throughout all of this. As someone working in film, just do that always. And I'm pretty sure you'll get somewhere good, you know? And you'll be happy.
The scene where he's taking his first time trip, where he's reminiscing about that, and just with all the coloring done, all the sound put together, it was so moving. And Daniel's piece, that's probably my favorite musical piece in the film. I was blown away. I was blown away that we made this on this budget, and we made this with just a bunch of friends, and it was a labor of love, and it was a labor of love for people who, you know, donated to the Kickstarter. It was just like, wow, we created something special. That was the moment in the movie where I thought, wow, we made this? Wow.
One small, insignificant decision has the possibility to grow an entire forest of change.
I don't think there was any point throughout the 7 years where I thought the project would not get done, just because I know Joel is pretty tenacious. Once he starts a project, he tends to finish it. But this was a pretty daunting project. at times it didn't feel like the project was moving forward at all, but I knew things were in the works, and money issues were always something that we had to deal with. So no, I never thought it would not get done, but I didn't know when.
I started filming with Steve March 2012. It is now August 13th, 2014. We are going to finish his scenes today. I can't believe it. So we have one last shot with this truck. You just can't stop getting in that thing.
I hate this suit. No, I love this suit. Me and the suit are one.
Don't rip it now.
I learned a lot, and I think I learned the most from Joel, who displayed an extraordinary amount of tenacity and willpower and dedication to make this happen. He had a lot of help on the way, but it's because he was never derailed from the dream, from the ultimate goal of wanting to be able to say, I'm done, I did it, I finished this project. So I learned a lot from Joel, and I learned a lot about myself through the process too. I think you learn a lot when you dedicate this much time to something.
How many more days left till the premiere?
7. I guess tomorrow will be 10 days. But for us, we only have like 5 more days until we have to be done. I'm so exhausted. I don't even want to watch this anymore.
When you're dealing with time travel movies, there are a lot of tropes, there are a lot of stories that have done time travel a certain way. And I remember talking to Joel about how we're going to approach it, especially when we started talking about the ending of the film. And there were several different endings of the film that came before what would be the final ending. And I remember one night, Joel and I literally yelling over the phone, but that won't work that way. And looking back, it's funny, but at the time it was like, man, we're both super passionate about getting this right and making sure that the story just wasn't ridiculous for the viewer, that we really had to say what is the most believable way to handle time travel. And it can be a crutch. Time travel can be just, let's focus on the sci-fi aspect of time travel. But we really wanted to tell a story that when it gets to the end, it makes sense when you're looking back at all the other pieces. Like every other moment of the film led to that ending. And so it felt comfortable when we finally decided, okay, this is how this is going to end. This is how time travel works in this universe.
I don't know what's laid out for my future. And that's how it should be. So I will not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry for itself.
Working on Norman was particularly special because Joel cares so much about the project, and that came about with how much time and effort he's put into it. But being able to be a part of that and have someone who's a client, now a friend, but a client that cares so much about what he's doing that you can't care more about it than he does. So there's not like, I did all this work and the client doesn't notice and actually wants to undercut that by saying this is too out there.
I think this was a really neat opportunity for us to develop consistent work, recreatable work. It's easy to do a one-off neat shot that is fun and looks cool for a teaser or a trailer, but to be able to deliver the same quality and a consistent looking quality over and over and over again in different scenarios, that's something I feel pretty accomplished by, that we made a consistent look and a consistent looking effect in variable situations. I'm proud of that.
For the intro of a film, I want to say, come to this, follow us on this journey, because it's gonna be crazy, man. And for the ending, I'm always like, okay, wait, just stay a little bit. I know you got a life, you got things to do, but just think about this, and just stick around. You don't have to stick around for the whole thing, but just stick around for like at least my name.
All right, so we finally made the last bit of changes this morning. There's only about 6 things. So we're pretty sure there's nothing left. It feels weird being at the point where you can rack your brain so hard and you can't really think of anything more to do. So it really does feel done. So we're just gonna watch it through the last time, and I think it's done. So I can't think of anything else. So that's why we're just gonna try to watch it and just watch it as a movie, because it's really hard to watch something when your brain is still going, that needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be checked, this needs to be done. So we're gonna try to watch it this time as it is done. So we're really excited. So hopefully this is the last time, because we gotta just print it now. We gotta just render it out, and this will be the one that we're gonna show. So it's been a lot of effort for 7 years, and it comes down to this. So we wanted to make sure we put our best, and I think we did by like 1,000%. So here goes.
I worked really hard on this film, and the only reason in many ways why I did it is because I knew Joel was holding up his end of the bargain. And us being able to see that, because he leads the way, you know, allows us to feel more confident to bring our A game, because we're not going to feel we're doing it in vain, and that's really important.
One cool thing about the Norman project, it's not just a film, but it was filmed at my home, so not only is it's going to be something really cool to watch, but down the road I'll be able to look back, and it's sort of my own little time capsule for seeing my home as it was back in the day, and seeing all of my things there being used as Norman's things.
A lot of people think it's really easy just to say like, hey, we're just doing a movie, and it sounds cool in theory, and you just expect like you're gonna get all this help, and that dies out really, really, really fast because it gets old. And most of it just feels like you're trudging through a lot of mud. So yeah, personalities and people are really important. But if everything comes together, it can be very gratifying.
Shit. Oh, I knew it was gonna hit me. Shit, oh my gosh. Oh my. Oh, we're finally done. Oh man. I knew it was gonna hit me. You can't trick yourself in thinking it's done until it's done.
When you have your own wife that doesn't think you can do it, but knows that you can do it, that makes a huge difference to get a monumental beast of a project. Whether or not people truly, really like it or not, this project was a Lord of the Rings beast to me and my team.
And now at this point, it's not just the story in the film, it's your guys' story. To me, it's like this full picture, and I can't separate this film from the heart of it, from the heartbeat.
I hope they pull away a good story that they enjoy. I hope it's something they could go back and watch again. But more so, I want people to walk away saying, you know, if we really put our minds to it, we can do a lot. Because we basically built this film from nothing. It is an independent, low-budget film, and it's good. And I want people to take that as motivation to, it doesn't have to be a film, you don't have to go make a movie, but against all odds, you can accomplish things that, you know, others will tell you is impossible.
It was exciting. It was exciting to just be, it was obviously exciting to be part of the crew, but it was exciting to be just in that audience for the first time, seeing it in completion and just being like, wow, this came out, it worked. we had many conversations of what if this doesn't work, but it worked.
Don't listen to people that say that you can't do it or it's got to be done a certain way. Everything was created some way. Someone had to come up with some standard.
There's so many different people that could end up watching this. I don't even know who I'm talking to, but you can do it. Finish the project you began and that you want to finish. Make it happen.
This has probably been a very long wait for a lot of people. I know it's been the longest for me. I'm really excited about this. Like, I was telling my brother, we worked for the last like 2 months just like crazy to get it tonight. And what you're gonna see tonight is 7 years of tons of work from countless friends and people who've just poured their heart into a really crazy vision I had called Norman. And I'm really proud of it, and I'm excited that you guys are all here. It's a privilege. And for me, I've been waiting for this moment for years. And there were times it was very hard to believe that it was going to actually finish. But this this lady here helped me so much.
It's not worth achieving if you've beaten everybody to a pulp and you've created enemies and you've not paid people and everyone hates you by the end. To me, it's not worth it. Norman was worth it because we ended well. The film, hopefully, I think is a really cool, unique, custom film and a story that speaks from my heart of what I like and everyone still really is happy and enjoyed the process as opposed to being not just a long, hard, painful project, but a painful, good one that was worth people's time and effort. If you just keep at it and you have a respectful attitude on things and you go out in a direction of you put your whole heart and passion into it, you really can get some of these projects done, whether or not it's gonna be good or bad, but you can still get them done one little piece at a time, but you gotta stay committed to it and you gotta keep going and you gotta keep chipping away at it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and I hope it motivates everyone to get out there and work on your own projects. Don't wait till tomorrow, start tonight, and you'll get it done.
Hey, Picor. What? Do you remember doing this?
Yes.
It was just like yesterday, right?
No.
If your friend ever asks you to work on a film, it's only going to be a few weekends, just like he promises. So go ahead and go for it.
Yes. Would 200% never will go further.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.